have some fun today. Turn money into noise.
Hi YouTube, me again, here for another episode of Can Cheap Compete. This past Saturday I had another practical rifle match, and I gotta say we did pretty good, and I have some footage I want to share with you guys. Before we get into that, however, let's go ahead and start with some changes that were made to the rifle in preparation for this match. Alright, so as you can see here, I have taken off the bipod that we had on previously, and instead I have a $20 finger stop that I picked up from a local manufacturer in Henderson. I think they're called Bad Manufacturers. This has been a great help actually, especially in the match that we just had, and that has been in it being super lightweight and compared to a bipod, and also it's extremely easy now to get the rifle in and out of barricade cutouts during matches, which ended up actually working in my favor in the one that we just had on Saturday. Outside of this hand stop, we do have a new change to the stock that we have in the back here. We dropped the original PSA stock with a B5 Systems Bravo stock. This one is infinitely more comfortable and also provides a very good cheek weld. That's all for the changes for the rifle in preparation for the match. Now let's talk about what I did in preparation for the match. It's been really hot around here lately, so getting out into the range has been difficult, especially since I work a full-time job and have to cook for my family afterwards. But I can still do my best with a Mantis Blackbeard. I have some footage showing you me putting this target right here at the end of this hallway. It's a 15-yard hallway, and at home what I'm able to do is use a shot timer and set a par time to 0.75 seconds, and I can practice a 10-yard, for example, low ready with an LPVO indoors, which, you know, that does provide some useful training at home, but is rather limited in the actual scope of skill expression during a match. So to facilitate some better training, I've also set up a couple of boxes and barricades to practice sort of hitting the shot timer with a par time, just to sort of get that random start energy, get the heart rate pumping, using those barricades and boxes that I have set up and the shot timer to practice getting into a cover, getting into the scope very quickly and as effectively as possible, which that ended up being the most beneficial training for the match that we just had. Now, to give the Mantis Blackbeard some credit, my 10-yard LPVO low ready par time at home, 0.75 seconds, I was regularly halving that time at home with the dry fire. Come to find out, when I went to do live fire, the story was the exact same. So when it comes to at least going from like low ready, high ready positions, you can train that very well at home to get really fast times. Because as you can see with my live fire, I'm getting 0.1 or 0.31, 0.35 seconds regularly. Outside of generally training with the rifle, I also need to start training my body better. I'm a programmer. I've been sitting at my desk for the last 10 years. Cardio is not my best friend. And I think I need to change that, because this is a high stress sport that we're doing, and my heart rate regularly is just through the roof. I'm sweating pretty quickly, and that's totally fine. I'm a pretty sweaty guy anyways, but I've started changing my workout routine to do cardio in between my lifting days. Right now I just do a typical PPL, a push-pull legs routine for weightlifting, but I am severely lacking in the cardio department. So I will be doing regular runs, especially in the heat. It's going to be pretty nice training in that. That's going to make these matches a lot easier. All right, but y'all are probably sick and tired of looking at me. Let's go ahead and start reviewing some of this footage. I did place 13th out of 42 overall, which is an improvement from last time. I think I was 14th, and then the time before that I placed 16th. And on average there's 40 to 60 competitors each match. So we're improving steadily, and when I looked at the times, we were fairly close to being in the top 10. And I think we'll see a few points that we can change in the footage that will probably push us to the top 10 for the next match. All right, the first stage we're going to look at is called Smooth. This one does have a steel spinner target, which you have to do a complete rotation over for it to count. Alternatively, you can take a 60-second penalty as long as you engage it with at least one shot, and that is the strategy that I went with here since it was pretty early, and I've seen a lot of experienced shooters struggle with the spinner even, so I wanted to get back as much time as I possibly could early on. Now this stage was a particularly fun one, especially because the rifle starts unloaded on a table. This one I actually had a failure to fully seat the magazine, as you'll see, and causing a malfunction. So I'll go ahead and slap the magazine back in there and rack it, and then I'm back in. But the barrel that I'm shooting on is rather unstable, which takes me a couple shots to realize where I need to be aiming at. I went ahead and started with the rectangular steel so I could see where my shots were landing. The first two were off because of the barrel stabilization. But as soon as I saw that first target, or as soon as I saw where the first hit landed, I started just drilling them in. One thing that really ate my time up here is I decided to reload for some reason, even though I had plenty of rounds to complete the stage, so I can make this time back up in the future just by remembering to count beforehand. Now the final stage was the most interesting. It had a bonus that you could hit where you slide into the barrel here, and then there's a 3-inch steel plate at the very end of the berm. And for a hit, if you get a single hit, it's 20 seconds off your time. It took me about like 19 seconds, so it's just barely worth it for me. Honestly, it was just worth it for the bragging rights. But after you hit the steel target, if you so choose, you go to the barricade and you engage the 2 steel plates at the end of the berm. And it's 1 hit per plate, and then you have to move to a different slot on the barricade for a total of 4 positions on the barricade before engaging the paper targets from within the boxes. It was on the barricade here where I found I was struggling for the first time with the max magnification with an LPVO. I also made the mistake of engaging the same target twice initially, which threw off my rhythm, but once I got back into it and I understood what I needed to do, the rest of the course was pretty straightforward. I did, however, have 2 failure to neutralize at the end of the course here on 2 paper targets where I only managed to shoot once on the body, and it wasn't an A zone, so it didn't fully count. Now looking back at the footage, I can see plenty of places for improvement. I feel like there was a lot of times where, given the long time that you're outside waiting for your turn to go, I feel like I'm losing steam and I'm probably not completely focused, and that's kind of showing in some delayed reactions here and there. And for example, like on stage 3, I failed to actually address the course correctly, and I fired on the same target twice instead of firing once per target. So we can definitely improve there. Now I would like to talk briefly about how the rifle itself held up, because this is Can Cheap Compete, where we do look at the rifle itself, and we're about 600 more rounds into this since the last video, all of which have continued to be the 55 grain Fiocchis. The gun continues to run remarkably well. The only malfunction was the user-induced malfunction where I failed to fully seat the magazine during stage 2, but even after multiple mags going into the dirt, getting dust in there, being reloaded, the thing continued to run flawlessly. And we'll go ahead and show some more footage of after I cleaned it after the match as well, and the BCG and other components are still looking quite healthy. There were parts of the bolt carrier group that did require a little bit of scraping, but for the most part everything was still looking pretty good and required very little effort to clean.